Hello friends, hope everyone is safe and fine in this pandemic. So today we are going to discuss about coronavirus. Earlier we had covered topics like different types of vaccines and what are the vaccines coming for the coronavirus, and we have detailed about the Sputnik 5, the Russian approved vaccines. So continuing on this session of coronavirus, today we will be discussing how this virus attacks the human cells, how it enters in the human cells, and the different therapeutic approaches or area where we can target this virus. So for this session, I would like to invite Ms. Pradnya Thakkar, who is a ex-Lupin R&D executive and is a GPAD and NIPER rank holder. So over to Pradnya.
Hello friends, myself Pradnya Thakkar. Here I will try to explain about the pathophysiology of coronaviruses and what are the possible drug targets to control its transmission. We hear every day that COVID-19 is a pandemic which affects the world. So, what is pandemic? Pandemic is basically a global epidemic. That means an epidemic that spread to more than one continent. As shown in this figure, these are the pandemics and their respective death tolls, out of which today we will discuss about the current pandemic, that is COVID-19. As we know, in December 2019, patient in Wuhan, China started experiencing a disease with acute respiratory attacks. After investigation, it is revealed that the disease was due to the novel virus, later that designated as the novel coronavirus disease 2019. Formerly, it is referred as COVID-19. As we know, COVID-19 is a disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronaviruses, that is SARS-CoV-2. So, let's understand more about these viruses. Coronaviruses are single-stranded positive sense RNA viruses. Positive sense RNA viruses, that means it acts as a messenger RNA and can be directly translated into the viral proteins by host cell's ribosome. The genome size of coronaviruses is between 28 to 32 kilobase pair. These viruses belongs to the Coronaviridae family of the order Nidovirales, which are divided into four genera, that is, alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. These viruses have the ability to infect both animals and humans, so it is called as a zoonotic infection. SARS-CoV-2 has been identified as belonging to the beta genus coronaviruses family that contains at least four structural proteins, namely spike glycoproteins, membrane proteins, small envelope proteins, and the nucleocapsid proteins. If we wanted to design a drug against the coronaviruses, we should have an idea about the replication cycle of these coronaviruses. The first step involved in the replication is the viral entry. Viral spike glycoprotein get attached to the ACE2 receptors, that is, angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptors, which are present on the host cell membrane. These spike glycoprotein have two subunits, namely S1 and S2. The role of S1 subunit is to bind to the host cell receptor, while S2 allows the membrane fusion. Spike glycoprotein get cleaved into the S1 and S2 subunit by the host cell proteases. One of them is the transmembrane proteases serine 2. This cleavage causes the conformational changes which allows fusion with the host cell membrane. Other proteases, for example furin, which allows pH-dependent entry through the endocytic pathway. So what is meant by endocytosis? It is a process whereby eukaryotic cell internalizes the material from their surrounding environment. Internalization is achieved by the formation of a membrane-bound vesicle at the cell surface that arises by the progressive invagination of the plasma membrane followed by the pinching and release of the free vesicle, that is endosome, into the cytoplasm. Next step is the uncoating and release. Once virus enters inside the cell, various proteases acts on it, such as cathepsin, which selectively cleaves the protein by cutting the peptide bond. This causes uncoating and release of the viral genomic RNA into the cytoplasm. So now look into the simplified diagram to know this process more clearly. So positive stranded viral genomic RNA serve as the mRNA and translated into the host cell using the host cell ribosome. Translation of open reading frame 1A and open reading frame 1B produces the polyprotein 1A and 1B respectively. These polyproteins are processed by the proteolysis with the help of enzymes like chymotrypsin-like proteases and papain proteases to form 16 non-structural protein. These in turn forms the replication transcription complex. When replication transcription complex combines with the positive stranded genomic RNA, facilitates the replication and transcription event to gives us the negative stranded RNA that is called as antisense RNA. After synthesis of antisense RNA, there are two possibilities. In case 1, antisense RNA serve as the template for the sense RNA. So via replication of antisense RNA, we get full copy of positive stranded RNA. In case 2, through the process of discontinuous transcription, antisense RNA get transcribed into the negative stranded subgenomic RNAs. In this case, RNA-dependent RNA polymerase bind to the antisense RNA at different site and allows transcription to form bunch of positive stranded subgenomic RNAs. These positive stranded subgenomic RNAs get translated into the rough endoplasmic reticulum to form various structural and accessory protein. Genomic RNA and capsid protein together forms the nucleocapsid. These in turn with combination of structural and accessory protein forms the viral progeny. Now get back into our previous slide. Third step is the viral assembly. The translated structure protein and the genomic RNA get assembled into the viral nucleocapsid and envelop in the endoplasmic reticulum Golgi intermediate complex. Here, other accessory proteins are also get assembled inside the Golgi vesicle to form viral progeny. Next step is the exocytosis. So, through the process of exocytosis, virus get released and the cycle repeats with attachment to the next epithelial cells. We know that for COVID-19 currently there are no approved drugs and vaccine is available. In this section, let us discuss about the specific targets and drugs being investigated to overcome this viral infection. First strategy is to inhibit SARS-CoV-2 entry. So what are the possible ways to inhibit its entries? First, to inhibit the interaction between ACE receptor and the coronaviruses. One approach has been proposed involved targeting ACE2 and S protein association. The receptor binding domain which is present within the S protein is an essential target to develop antibodies. As discussed previously, S protein binds to the ACE2 receptor and downregulates its expression and causes severe lung injury. Therefore, if we increase the expression of ACE2 using antihypertensive drugs such as ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers may reduce the risk of COVID-19 infection. So what is the function of this ACE2? ACE2 is found in lungs, hearts, kidney and various organs. ACE2 is an enzyme which converts angiotensin 2 octapeptide to angiotensin 1 heptapeptide. In simple words, angiotensin 2 is a vasoconstrictor while angiotensin 1 is a vasodilator. Hence, ACE inhibitors may reduce the level of angiotensin 2 and prevents the lung injury. Second drug is the icatibant. FDA approved icatibant which regulates the bradykinin level. As we know, bradykinin is a vasodilator. Icatibant inhibits the bradykinin, thus reduces the complications of COVID-19. Third is the recombinant human angiotensin converting enzyme. Infusion of recombinant human angiotensin converting enzyme improves the pulmonary blood flow and oxygen saturation. It has been evaluated for the treatment of acute respiratory distress syndrome. Fourth is the hesperidin. Hesperidin is a flavone glycoside which is found in citrus fruit such as lemon and sweet oranges. Based on the virtual screening, hesperidin may disrupt the interaction of ACE2 with receptor binding domain of SARS-CoV-2, thus blocks the entry into the lung cell. So it can be used as a prophylactic agent in case of COVID-19 infection. Second strategy is to inhibit transmembrane proteases serine 2. Virus has been reported to use TMPRSS2 for S protein priming and binding to SCE2 for cellular entry. So, inhibitor of TMPRSS2 can block the viral entry which act as the treatment option. Well-known inhibitor of TMPRSS2 is camostat mesylate. Camostat mesylate inhibits TMPRSS2, which is required for S protein priming and binding to SE2 for cellular entry. Thus, it reduces the lung cell line infection with SARS-CoV-2. Third strategy is to inhibit endosome membrane fusion. We know host cellular entry occurs via endocytic and non-endocytic pathway. So inhibition of this pathway could be a strategy to inhibit viral entry and their further infection. An antimalarial drug such as chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine inhibit the endosome membrane fusion. So what is the mechanism of action of this drug? This drug elevates the pH of the acidic intracellular organelles such as endosome and lysosome. Thus, it inhibits the hydrolytic activity of proteases that are required for the glycosylation of ACE2 receptor and spike glycoprotein. The side effect of chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine is the prolonged QT interval. Therefore, the dose and therapy should be monitored in case of cardiovascular patients. Another approach involves the disruption of SARS-CoV-2 replication. An antiviral drug, remdesivir, inhibits SARS-CoV-2 replication. So, what is the mechanism of action of this remdesivir? Let us understand. Remdesivir is a prodrug. It gets metabolized intracellularly to its active metabolite, that is GS441524. This active metabolite is a competitive inhibitor of adenosine triphosphate for the incorporation into the viral RNA strand. Once it gets incorporated into the viral RNA at position 1, it terminates the RNA synthesis by inhibiting RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. RNA-dependent RNA polymerase is an enzyme which is required for the viral RNA replication. Therefore, remdesivir inhibits the SARS-CoV-2 replication. Some drugs has been repurposed for the management of COVID-19 infection. So, what is meant by repurposing of drugs? It means investigation of existing drugs for new therapeutic purposes. Due to the long duration or time period required for the clinical trial, this strategy has been used. It reduces the cost and time for the medicine to reach into the market. Under this, the first category of drug is antihelminthic drug. These are the group of antiparasitic drugs that expels the parasitic worms and internal parasite from the body. Under this, the first drug is the ivermectin. Ivermectin inhibits the replication of positive stranded RNA viruses such as dengue, Zika, chikungunya, and yellow fever. As we know, coronaviruses are also a positive stranded RNA viruses. Therefore, it could be a potential drug treatment for the COVID-19 infection. Side effects of ivermectin include it can cross into the brain and react with the GABA-gated chlorine channel, thereby causing the neurotoxicity. It is generally prevented by the blood-brain barrier, but it is not considered as a safe drug if blood-brain barrier is compromised in case of inflammatory state. Due to the leaky blood-brain barrier caused by SARS-CoV-2, it should be administered with precautions. Second category of drug involves antiviral drugs. The combination of ritonavir and lopinavir is sold under the brand name Caletra. This combination inhibits the coronavirus protease enzyme. Protease enzyme is responsible for the cleavage of GAG and GAG-POL polyprotein to form final structural protein of virus. So, if protease enzyme is get inhibited, the final structural protein of virus is also get inhibited. Ritonavir combines to enhance protease inhibitor regimen to improve the pharmacokinetic properties of the lopinavir. Second drug is the favipiravir. Favipiravir is a prodrug. When it gets ribosylated and phosphorylated, it gives favipiravir ribofuranosyl 5' triphosphate. Favipiravir (RTP) is an active metabolite which competes with the purine nucleoside and interferes with the viral replication by incorporating into the nascent viral RNA strand. This incorporation further inhibits the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase enzyme. So, if RNA-dependent RNA polymerase is get inhibited, further RNA strand elongation and viral proliferation is also get inhibited. Another therapy which involved in the management of COVID-19 infection is the convalescent plasma therapy. Convalescent plasma therapy involves transfusion of antibodies from a person who has recovered from the disease into an infected person to initiate an immunoresponse against the diseases. SARS-CoV-2 antibodies are obtained from the human convalescent sera from an individual who has completely recovered from the SARS-CoV-2 through its humoral immunity. Convalescent blood products can able to neutralize the SARS-CoV-2 virus and ultimately lead to the eradication from the blood circulatory system through induction of artificially acquired immunity. To combat COVID-19 infection, we need some adjuvant therapies. So what is meant by adjuvant therapies? It means the treatment is given in addition to the primary treatment to reduce the risk of disease during its management. When SARS-CoV-2 attacks the lungs, body releases some chemoattractors or pro-inflammatory cytokine to fight against this infection. We know that these pro-inflammatory cytokines plays an important role in protective mechanism. High level of these pro-inflammatory cytokine such as tumor necrosis factor and interleukin-6 creates a cytokine storm causing inflammation that may lead to the severe respiratory distress syndrome, even death, partly because it also damages other organ. So we need to inhibit this cytokine storm. Some immunosuppressive drug such as tocilizumab is a known inhibitor of interleukin-6 which can be used in the management of cytokine storm caused by the SARS-CoV-2. We cannot use corticosteroids because if corticosteroids is given in high doses for prolonged period, it causes severe side effect. Therefore, the management by tocilizumab is considered as a better option than the corticosteroid. Second drug is the heparin. Severe cases of SARS-CoV-2 are due to the cytokine storm, which lead to the activation of coagulation cascade leading to the thrombotic phenomena. The use of anticoagulant therapy with heparin has shown to decrease the mortality in COVID-19 patients. I would like to say thank you for your attention, and this brings us to the end of this session. Please leave a comment about your experience with this session. You can share your thoughts or ask queries in the comment section at the bottom of this lesson. I would also like to say thanks to Subhanshu who brings me to join this discussion. Last but not least, stay safe.